going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Jackwitz. This is the Kaged review, and this is a review, the spoiler review for BumbleBee. I'm wearing my Sinestro shirt because it's the only yellow I have in my wardrobe. So, BumbleBee. You start off with a very, very cool action sequence on Cybertron. It's like the fall of Cybertron. The Decepticons, they're coming in, they're just taking everybody apart. The main Autobots you see there are only Optimus Prime and BumbleBee. And you get a plethora of Decepticons. It's very cool. Soundwave, Shockwave. And so they're sending Bumblebee to Earth, and he kind of crash lands into a platoon of soldiers. You meet John Cena. They're playing a game of paintball. And then all of a sudden this big meteor type thing comes in and hits the ground pretty close to these guys. And so immediately Bumblebee turns into the robot. John Cena looks at him. He's like, what the hell is this? They start attacking him. So they immediately think he's a threat. And all those sequences were very cool. Visually, it was awesome. Really, really cool to start the show. I really like how they introduced Bumblebee to John Cena and the reason why he kind of starts S7, which is what he grows into. And I like how they set it up a little bit. You know, okay, you've got some cause and effect here. From there, the movie just immediately hits a slow drag to it. You get introduced to the main, I don't want to say the hero of the show because the hero is Bumblebee, but the main human of the show. And Hailee Steinfeld, I said in my non-spoiler review, I was not a big fan of. She did not have very much emotional range. And it's funny because I made mention of like face mannerisms and you can't always knock somebody. Like her face just doesn't move that much. And sometimes it's hard to get across, you know, facial expression when your face is kind of tight enough to where it just doesn't move. And we've gone into this era now where it's like we concentrate more on actors and actresses that are cute and can't act. And that's why quality of movies has gone down quite a bit in my mind. You don't get the Kevin Spaceys anymore. You don't get the Bill Murrays. Bill Murray for comedy. He was a great classic, but he wasn't the prettiest guy on the planet. That's why I bring him up. But coming back to Bumblebee, I just felt like the acting for the most part was very subpar. I did like John Cena. I thought he carried his role fairly well. I liked the humor. I said that, you know, when they were starting the paintball thing, he's got one of the other team like strung up in a snare, and he just keeps shooting them with the paintball gun and, you know, just fucking with them. And it was funny. And I do think he kind of oversold some of the over-emotional parts at the end. We'll get into that in a sec. But yeah, Hailee and George, or I don't know if it's George or Jorge or whatever, Lendeberg. He plays Mimo, and this is Hailee's love interest. So that section of the movie starts out with her. She's coming up to her birthday. Her family doesn't pay her attention. You realize her dad died of a heart attack. So it's got so many stereotypes already. And then you've got the nerdy neighbor who absolutely adores her, wants to get with her, but she's very standoffish. I mean, these movies, they follow the same track every time. And I wish they would break that up because it's literally alien crash lands on Earth. Alien meets human. Human has a dysfunctional family. Human has nerdy love interest. And then the big fight at the end. And that's kind of the way these movies go. And this is exactly what you would expect it to be in that regard. Honestly, I don't know that any of the side cast really did anything for this movie. There were no standout moments from anybody. And my biggest complaint with the action sequences here are like, so she finally gets Bumblebee instantly realizes that it's a robot in her garage as soon as she gets it home. She tries to work on a couple of things so they can communicate. He sends a distress signal into space. That brings Decepticons to Earth. And in all of this time, and you're talking a lot of time in the movie, there's really no major action. There's really no major Transformer action. You've got Bumblebee doing stuff, but, you know, you don't have the charm from the first Transformers. You don't have the action from the first Transformers. You don't have the drawn-out fight sequences that you had from the first Transformers. And while the first Transformers had its problems for sure, and it had all the Bayisms you would expect, I think it was still a much better movie. And I was really surprised that people gave this a 94. I said that in the last review, like, it astounds me. Because this is typical formulaic bullshit with not great acting and not a great storyline. So I was really, really surprised. And I'm a Transformers fan. Like, I was a kid in Saturday mornings watching Transformers. I had a bunch of toys. And so, you know, when the original Transformers came out, I was so stoked. Like, they're bringing this to the live action screen. Like, that's cool, man. And, you know, I didn't necessarily like Megan Fox or Shia LaBeouf, to be very honest. Like I said, it had its charms to it, and it had some very cool sequences. Where I think this did not pull it off. I don't think it did. I think that it had a very cool beginning action sequence. It had some cool stuff at the end, and everything in the middle was just kind of there. So yeah, the Decepticons come. They kind of get help from S7 because S7 doesn't really understand how dangerous these guys are. When they figure it out, it's too late. The Decepticons turn on the main doctor from S7, kills him, and they try to kill Bumblebee. They take off. They're trying to get to a tower so they can relay a message to the Decepticons in space, and that's where your big, you know, final battle comes out. Bumblebee, he gets brought back because there's a point where the Decepticon shoots Bumblebee. You think, you know, he might have killed him, which you know he didn't. That big fight ensues at the end, and I mean, there really wasn't much to it. And I gave it a 5 out of 10 in my non-spoiler review because I felt like it was very, you know, halfway. You had some very cool visuals. You know, I'll be honest, I don't even know if it deserved a 5. I might give this, I actually might change my review to a 4 the more I talk about it, because the more I talk about it, it's like, you know, the girl had to have this big emotional scene when she thinks that they killed Bumblebee and she's trying to bring him back. That didn't sell for me. You had this over-the-top kind of mean girl that was just picking on Hailee's character, Charlie, and it was so over-the-top at times, like, you know, she's making fun of her dead dad, and, like, come on, who's not going to jump out of the car and whip her ass or do something? And, like, none of it made sense in some points. And again, Charlie had to have an emotional impact, you know, when dealing with jokes about her dad or thinking about her dad or moments that, you know, made her flashback to her dad, and it just never sold. It just never did for me. That's a problem when you're going into a movie and you don't give a shit about the characters. How many times can I say that? You just kind of leave everything, you know, to its own devices. I mean, you make a shitty movie, you know. I'm really, as a fan, I'm really shocked that this got a 94 and still has a 94 on Rotten Tomatoes. I find that very hard to believe. At the end of the movie, Charlie decides that she has to let Bumblebee go because she realizes that he has to get his Autobots and get them to Earth, and she has to kind of make amends with her family. And so they split off. He turns into the Camaro that you see at the beginning of Transformers, the original, and that's where it leaves off. It goes right into Transformers, Michael Bay's first movie, and it really doesn't even leave room for another Transformers movie unless they're going to do something completely different next time, because okay, you have this movie, it's a standalone, it leads into the trilogy Bay did, and that's it. So, I mean, that's really all I can say about the movie. It was actually kind of a basic story plan. I would say it's all over the place, but it was actually kind of tunnel vision in the narrative that they were telling. But it was just kind of jumbled a little bit, and the acting was just not great through most of it. So, I mean, that's what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say 4 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz. Kaged Nation, out.